You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing daily, hopefully. Hello, it is Thursday the 13th of June. Welcome to the Diary of a Wannabe Writer. One of the things I'm going to talk about is a perennial problem of mine, and that is being fit and healthy, because I'm not very good at it. And I was actually going back through my old website, not my old website, my current website, but an old entry on it, entitled Healthy Body, Healthy Mind, My Nano Prep for 2019. And I was talking about all the stuff I'm about to do again. So I'm talking about keto diet. Well, I was on the keto diet then, which is this clever idea, but it doesn't really work. So what happens is you avoid carbohydrates and sugar, and what happens is your body goes into survival mode. It thinks there must be something wrong because you're not getting these things, and it starts burning body fat. And it's really good. You can lose weight quite quickly. The problem with it is the moment you stop eating healthily, avoiding the carbohydrates, the weight comes back on. So what I'm going to do instead is just count my calories. And there is an app out there called Noom, which I successfully lost a stone on last year and then stopped using it and piled it all back on. So I kind of need to change my mentality and my lifestyle. So by doing it on here, I'm kind of going to hold myself accountable a little bit to the people who listen. So I don't like talking about how much I weigh, but I'm 18 stone, which is far too bloody much. So my basic plan is to get down to a lot less than that. And one of the many things I will chronicle on this podcast is how I go about it. Now, Noom is quite a clever app, because what it does is it encourages you to eat calorie not dense foods, the opposite to calorie dense. So basically what it says is, if you've got a pile of raisins that have 100 calories in them, or some grapes that have 100 calories in them, the grapes are much physically bigger. They have the same amount of energy in them as the raisins, but they will fill you more. So what Noom tries to train you to do is to eat, not exclusively, but eat more calorie not dense, whatever the word is, food that isn't dense in calories, so that it fills you up more, so you don't have the urge to eat. Now, I did it for a month in November and lost a stone quite quickly, but the problem is I got out of the habit, and it's also quite expensive, so I've wasted quite a lot of money by not doing it. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, once a month, I'm going to, on this podcast, update you on how I'm doing with my weight. So I want to lose a hell of a lot. I'm not going to tell you how much I want to lose, but I want to lose a lot. I want to get down to 13 stone or less, so that's losing 5 stone. That's a lot. But then, I've been 12 stone before and looked good on it. It will look very different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just eat a lot of food that has less calories, less calorific density, and use Noom, which I've paid for, and actually make use of it. And I do think part of one of the reasons that I'm really struggling at the moment is I don't do enough exercise, and exercise is actually good for you and can lift your mentality, and because I've been in a bit of a funk recently because of things that I've talked about on the podcast before, it's hitting every aspect of my life. It's hitting my enthusiasm at work. Well, it's not hitting my enthusiasm at work, but it's meaning when I'm down route, I can really struggle. And it's hitting my enthusiasm for writing, not so much doing it, because once I do it, I enjoy it, but getting myself motivated to start in the first place. Self-confidence, all that kind of stuff is hit by this. So yeah, I'm going to try and over the next year become a different person. Set myself up for a fall here. Well, the worst that can happen is I won't do it. But what I found is, by talking about stuff on this podcast, is I am doing it. So those of you who listen to this regularly know that I lost a very dear friend of mine last month, and one of my normal reactions to that would be to not be able to write. And okay, I have written less than I would have done if it hadn't happened, but thanks to regularly keeping off, somebody just put something very nice in the podcast, in the chat, which I'm not going to read out because I'll blush. But yeah, what the podcast this has enabled me to do is, I suppose, hold myself a little bit accountable, even though I know I'm doing this more for me than for a lot of listeners. I know a few people do listen to it, but just the sheer what's the word for it? Having to do the I can't remember the word that I'm trying to think of, but the discipline, that's it. The discipline of having to do a 6-minute podcast every day has kept me writing more than I would have done otherwise. So this month I did have a few days off for morale reasons, but whereas before I probably would have stopped writing for months, I've bounced back a lot quicker than I would have done. So let's use this for every aspect of my life. Let's see if I can use this podcast as a motivation to lose some weight as well. And it's for my fitness. I'm sure my blood pressure is a lot higher than it should be because of my weight. And one of the things that killed my friend was a stroke. And I would be brought on by stress, and I would be very surprised if she didn't have exceedingly high blood pressure as well, which I know can cause strokes. So yeah, there's lots of reasons to do it, for my peace of mind, for my health, and for bits and pieces like that. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Healthy body, healthy mind, I suspect is going to be the name of the podcast. I am progressing okay. I'm about to, this podcast is being recorded as part of the live stream, and I'm hopefully about to sign off chapter 28. So if you download this podcast in the next 10 minutes or so, it's about 8 p.m. UK time on the date I said earlier, the 13th of June. If you manage to download this in the next few minutes, why not join me on twitch.tv/ whatever my URL is. Hang on, didn't think this far ahead. Hang on. Here we go. Twitch.tv/ Richard_A_Boxshall. BOXSHALL. Thank you for listening. Catch you next time. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.